and I will turn it over to Mehdi.
Thank you, Maylene. I don't know if we can get to the next slide. Perfect. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. It's a pleasure to be with you for this information session. And so Sebastian and I could share more details about the elementary school reopening plan. We often look at our mission and core values when we have community events or full faculty and staff meeting. And for us, it's a good reminder of our why. This is really our why we do things and why we do the things that we do and why we are here every day to educate young people. This is really the North Star and has been very helpful for us in these past few months to navigate the ever evolving situation and the fluid situation. We really aim at nurturing our students, forming these creative multilingual learners, and that has been really an important thing for us. We had leaned into our values during the past few months, endeavor particularly and integrity in making the right choices to better serve our families and students, and unity has been a big one. So we wanted to present those again today for you to consider, and this is our commitment to our students and to you. Whether we are online or we are on site, we are going to continue to fulfill our mission the best way we can, and we are going to serve our students the best way we can. So we're happy today to present to you some information about our reopening plans. Sebastian will be talking more specifically about the timeline, the format, completely on-site or a hybrid model, and some details about the grouping also. I want to point out from the beginning that there might be some details that we are unable to provide to you today. We are still working with the teachers. We are still finalizing some of the very practical plans. And so apologies in advance if we cannot answer everything. We'll be having a series of emails that we will forward to you in the next few days and few weeks. I ran out the last details about the reopening. This is a positive development for us to be able to reopen, and it reflects, I think, two things. First one, the positive trend of the epidemiologic situation in the Bay Area, so this is good news. And the second one will be our preparedness for the pandemic. And we've tried to really inform you as best we can, to be transparent with the information, to have fact-based and science-based decisions, and also to really follow the guidance that we're getting from the CDC, the state, and the county, and the city of Berkeley as well, and provide that to you in a comprehensible manner. And so you could look at our plans. It's on the website. This will slightly continue to evolve, but please make sure to look at these plans and also ask questions if you have any questions. I want to also underline the fact that the preschool has been open for the past 6 weeks. They've been doing a fantastic job, so kudos to the whole team, and led by Magali and all the teachers and the staff. They've done a fantastic job, and the students feel safe, the teachers feel safe, there's a lot of learning happening, the children are happy, and this is a very, very positive point, and I think this is something that might be useful for you, not that you look at a possible completely reopening of the lower school. We also want to be mindful of the students who might not be coming back on campus. We want to be respectful of all families and everyone's circumstances. So we do understand that some families have COVID-related issues, and so some students might not come back. And so we're working also very hard to transition those students to the home learning department. The home learning will be led by Thierry Durandard. He's our former school head. He's a very experienced educator, and I know Sebastian is working super hard on making sure that we serve as well as possible all of our students. And that's a little bit the link that I wanted to make with our mission. So finally, in closing, maybe I want to tell you that we're really happy to be able to present reopening plans to you today. We can't wait to have your students on campus. This is really a joy for us to welcome them again, and I'll also welcome you by the same occasion. We'll see you in the morning. And we're also very mindful and focused on the students staying at home to provide to them the best education possible. So thank you all very much. Thank you for being here today, and I'll hand over to Sebastian now.
Thank you, Mehdi. So welcome everyone. I'm really thrilled to present you this reopening plan. We have been working hard with the entire lower school team and administrative staff to provide the best plan based on, safety, but also how we will deliver our curriculum and all the academics around that. I want to point out that safety is our top priority. So maybe in the first week, implementing all the safety measures will be slightly maybe over our goal on academics, but we want to make sure that learning is happening in a safe way, in a safe environment. And so we have to, test our protocols and see how it will go. As of now, we have been, having a few groups on site. We have been having the first graders 2 days a week, the second graders part-time per groups. So we have been testing our protocols, entry points, different entry points, hallways, staggered recesses, and it works well. So we want to reassure you that we, along the way, adapt. It's a very fluid plan, and so there might be changes, when we come back on the 26th after fall break, slight differences from what I presented, but the overall plan will stay the same. I mean, 95% of the plan will stay the same, and I will tell you where it might change. So why we are thinking of reopening? Because on October 2nd, the city of Berkeley released this health order that allows Berkeley schools to reopen. So we can reopen from kindergarten through 5th grade as of October the 13th, so next week on Tuesday. We decided to take a very careful approach with the reopening, not rushing things, so that we can really, test drive our safety plan and all the different measures. So to reopen, the school must present a kind of site-specific reopening plan to the city of Berkeley, with a lot of, the practices, the safety measures. Since we had been applying to the waiver for the state, the city of Berkeley will kind of, take the entire work that we did on the waiver, and so it's going to become our reopening plan. We will have scheduled visits from the city of Berkeley to ensure that what we wrote in our plan is implemented on site. So this, we don't know when it will happen, but we are hopeful that it will happen soon, so we can move forward with what we are planning. So why we think returning to in-person learning is the best thing for our students. First, we want to mitigate learning loss. We have seen from the last few months that some students, it's very hard for them not to be able to interact first with their peers, but also with their teachers, with hands-on activities. And the support that we can give, via Zoom or distance, although we updated a lot our program, we feel that it's sometimes very difficult for some of our students to learn. So we decided to really create those small groups instruction via Zoom, breakout rooms. And we think that our distance learning plan has been successful, but it's not like learning on site or in person. So we want really to try as maximum as possible to really have them on site. So we want to maintain the integrity of our instructional program. So the integrity of our instructional program, meaning that we want to, deliver our curriculum, do, the entire curriculum and program, although it will be difficult, as I shared with a few of you recently. Safety is our top priority. So we might slow the pace of our program, of our curriculum, and then maybe, when everything is settled, move forward. But we want to be mindful with all of this. We want to provide a safe and engaging learning space for our students. Being in a classroom, it's not like being in your bedroom. Interacting with your peers, it's not just, kind of interaction that you have on Zoom with your teacher. We learn from the others, and we feel that being in a learning environment that is engaging, where our students can learn, in different ways, in small groups, it will be really helpful for them. We don't provide hands-on activities that we cannot provide online. And we really want to work on social emotional learning, which is a key aspect right now when we think about, how learning happened in the last few months. Social emotional learning, the students feel isolated, and we want really to have them here on campus to make them feel that they are part of a group, of a community, of a school, and that we are here to support their emotional needs. So our multi-layered approach. So as you know, this is just a reminder, and as Mehdi said, our plan is reopening plan is disclosed on our website, so you can find all the details of it. Basically, these are the main features. You have all the experience, the screening in the morning, so via the Ruvna app, but also temperature check. Of course, everybody wears a mask, students, employees, everybody on site. We have signage throughout the building. This one you didn't see, but we have a one-way traffic. So we try to have a nice flow in the hallway, so students don't mingle and don't mix. There is really a path inside the building. We have distributed the building, so we have created different spaces. Even in the bigger rooms, we have created small spaces, so we can have a small cohort in each spaces. We clean, and we clean more our spaces and hands, and I have a slide on the deep cleaning and all that we have in the building. And of course, and I will come back to this one, this is a kind of community engagement, a social contract that we have with you. So when there are any signs of illness, whatever illness, we really ask you to keep the students, your kids at home. It's really important for us to keep our community safe, and for that, even the least symptoms, you have to keep your child home. It's really important, and I will come back to this one. Okay, so this is a short video that has been made by the advancement team. Okay, so in this video, you saw, I think, different things. So all the modifications and some adaptation that we have done on our buildings and campuses. So the playgrounds, we designed different areas in the playground. So we can have, small areas dedicated to one pod, so they don't mix. They are never all together at the same time. So we have to stagger all the recesses. The lunch and the after lunch recess. You also saw that, in the different classrooms, we have really, put the desk 3 to 5 feet when it was possible. So we have this nice now learning spaces where they are really distancing themselves. Yesterday we had the third graders on campus, and so there was a lot of time, preparing the space. And then when the students were here, we really tried to train them on, maybe new habits that you have to have in the classroom. So it will take time for the students, but EB has always been, strong in implementing new things. So basically, this is another thing that we have to do, and we are really engaged in doing, those safety measures in order to learn in a very healthy way. So our roadmap to reopening. So as Mehdi shared with you yesterday via email, we decided to take our time to reopen the different grades. So the first grade will return to on campus on October 26th. So first day, Monday after the break. We'll have 3 pods, and it will be Emma, Emily, and Jean-Philippe. They will have spaces, so 5, 6, 7, 8, and 25 for the English. And it's gonna be full-time. So for example, here we might have a change depending on the home learning students. I've shared with the students that are actually learning at home a survey, and some parents are willing maybe to come back. So if some students come back from home, then we might open a new pod. Basically, it's Jean-Philippe, but we'll have 2 pods instead of 1 pod. And so we'll have to add, a new pod and a new teacher. In grade 2, we have decided to let the first grade experience their routine during 3 or 4 days. So grade 2 will open on October 29th with 5 pods. Virginie will have 1 pod. Laurent will have 2 pods. Marianne will have 2 pods. So Laurent will share a pod with Anne Curie, and Marianne will share a pod with Geneviève, learning facilitator that we have hired and trained. Anale will do the English in the different pods. So we have decided to move a little bit from our original plan with the grade 2 pods, where we had, sometimes from the classroom to the pods, we had put some different students. We had mixed, and we thought that maybe if we were looking at the social emotional of our students, we wanted to be mindful for them to keep the same teacher. So we decided to move a little bit on that, and you'll get more information next week per grade on the plan, but also the groups and how it goes. Basically, we're going to keep the same group as we do when we have the onboarding for grade 2. We have also, as you see, Anne Curie, who will become a teacher. And so we are going to remove music from our curriculum temporarily, as the health guidance, prevents us from teaching music because of the droplets. You don't want to sing. You don't want to be, in those type of settings. So we repurpose Anne Curie, who is an extraordinary teacher, and we think that she will do a great job being a teacher in 2nd grade. So she will teach 2nd grade, so half of Laurent's class in the music room. So they will be full-time starting October the 29th. The next week, November the 2nd, we'll have the 3rd graders. So 3rd graders are already, have already experienced a full day this week of onboarding. I think it went very great. The students were really happy, as well as the teacher. So Elodie, Caroline, and Heather will share the free pods, and we'll rotate, between the different pods. They will come full time, and I think it's going to be also a great program. They will do what they've been doing on Zoom. In cycle 3, the grade 4 and 5, we have decided to go on an hybrid model. As we had shared, and it's also on our website, and we shared it in last May, we really want to prioritize our younger students, so grade 1, 2, and 3. And grade 4 and 5, we have, great teachers, so Michel, Thibault, Marianne, and Luc. And we are also looking for, new human resources, so new teachers to be able to open the free pods in each grade. But to be crystal clear, it's kind of difficult right now to find French teachers. And so we don't want to compromise our curriculum and our academic and the grade, how we really deliver, our grade 4 and 5 curriculum, which is very specific, for example, for our math program, which is bilingual. So we have decided to split the class into 2 groups and do a part-time model. Part-time meaning on-site. So you will receive a communication from teachers tomorrow or in the weekend, over the weekend. You'll have a group coming in the morning, 9 to 8, 11:30, and another group 1 to 3:30. It will happen Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and on Friday, it will be online. That's why we call this the hybrid model, because it will be online on Friday. It's hybrid. So we have this part-time 9 to 11:30. It might change. We would like to expand it a little bit. So maybe, having the students come before 1 to have their lunch on site, and maybe after 11:30 to stay to have their lunch. It's a question of scheduling, and same thing, human resources. So I'm working hard with Mirza, the enrichments director, to try to find a solution to extend the hours, because we know that 2 hours and a half on campus might be a little bit difficult, but we are trying to have this nice flow on this. And the grade 5 is going to be October 26th. So why November 2nd for grade 4 and why October 26th for grade 5? Because they are going to use the grade 5, are going to use the middle school. As they are using the middle school spaces, because middle schoolers are not on the middle school building, we have the opportunity to really have them right after the break, where the G4 we want to phasing in the grades. And so we want to have a grade 1 and 2 during 1 week on their own, the different pods, and then have the grade 3 and 4 on the second week, adding more pods, because scheduling, when you think about the scheduling and the staggering recess, we really have to, it's a kind of a Swiss clock, so it's really about a minute. And so we want to test drive everything with our first and second graders. Okay, so why we think that the hybrid model is a very good model for our 4th and 5th. An hybrid model is what we call a blended learning, a blended model. So we have a face-to-face, so every day, part-time, and we have this online piece on Friday. They will also have this online piece when they are, home. So if your child comes in the morning on site, then in the afternoon, they will still have to do some work. So there will basically be maybe some activities in math or in French or in language art, in English, a mix of online activities and maybe paper activities. So since the teachers will be able to see the students every day, they will really provide activities when they are at home. And we will maybe also kind of experience, some kind of flipped classroom. Sometimes you do something at home and then you come back, on site to really have, you know, the explanation and where are the issues, where are the challenges. When the students will be home, I'm also scheduling to have some specialist Zooming. So same thing, it's a matter of scheduling. Since art and STEM will remain via Zoom, I would like to have for G4 and G5 those specialists when they are not on site, but when they are home. So when they're on site, they really are dedicated to, you know, their French or English teacher plus another specialist, and I will come to that just after this one. So this is what it looks like more visually. So this is a school. So Monday morning for group A1, for example, there will be Monday morning. In the afternoon, they will stay home. Tuesday morning at school, Tuesday afternoon home, etc., etc. And on Friday, the entire day is online. So we have this for A1, A2, and B1, B2. So you will get really more information per grade, since each grade is very different in the instruction model, you know, in the percentages of languages, in the number of specialists that you have. It's an overview of the lower school, but you will get really specific information via email, you know, in the next few days or next week. Okay, so the specialist subjects, so specialist art and STEM, it will still be via Zoom. We'll have PE, so Patrice will come back on campus, and he will do 1 or 2 sessions when the students will be, you know, on campus. Garden, Jean-Marie will come back, and so we have 1 session per week from grade 1 to grade 4. And SEL with Christopher will take place outdoors. Christopher really prefers, you know, doing face-to-face interaction and instruction, and we think that the SEL, the, you know, meditation and all our program should really take place in person. So we are really moving SEL outdoors since Christopher is doing all the pods from the lower school from grade 1 to grade 5. He will, you know, physically distance himself, of course, and wear a mask and, you know, apply all the safety measures that we have in place. So academics and support. So with the new system of pods, it's going to be very difficult for us to have push-in like we used to have. You know, we had dedicated time from teachers who would be, you know, specialized in teaching maybe extra French or extra English, supporting our students while they were, you know, in classrooms. This model is not allowed anymore because we don't want to have, you know, 10 teachers in the same pod, and we don't want to have also a teacher that teaches in grade 3, for example, that you know, go and do some push-ins, so do some support in grade 1 in another grade. It doesn't make sense then for our pods to be on. So we really cannot do those push-ins, but we know, and our faculty is really talented. You know, they will have between 10 to 11 students. So they are going really to be able to tailor the instruction to each student's needs. We'll still have Carla, you know, our counselor, who can also maybe see the students outside. But the idea is really that the support that we were able to implement even online when we had other teachers zooming in is going to be difficult to implement on site. So I just wanted to make it clear. But I'm really not afraid because the numbers of students per pod really help our teachers to differentiate and individualize their instruction. So the home learning, the students that will not come back on campus. So as Mehdi shared, Thierry Durandard, the former law school head, will be the coordinator of this home learning team. The home learning team is composed of Isabelle Leblanc. So she's our former STEM teacher. She teaches at UC Berkeley. Elizabeth Sears, who is a former international school teacher. And she has already taken on the first grade, students. Sandra Kabuat, she's a former EB English teacher. She taught 5th grade 2 years ago. And so she will teach math and English. And so we'll have some specialist teachers. Christopher, our LCL coach, will do a specific session with our students, so from grade 1 and 2 together, and grade 3, 4, and 5 together. And our counselors, Carla or Douglas, will do some check-ins, individual check-ins with the students. We really want to be mindful, of our students that stay home. We want also to make links, social links and academic links. So we are in a process, discussing with our teachers to be able to do some Zoom inside the classroom, at specific moments, maybe when they are drawing, when they are doing, a kind of circle or, reading, doing something, because we don't want our students to be isolated from the classrooms. So basically, we are not afraid of delivering our curriculum. We have a strong team. So our curriculum will be delivered. The social emotional link to the school and to the group of, the grade level group is very important. And so we are really thinking of a way to integrate those students more in our daily operations. So there will be a mix of synchronous and asynchronous activities as usual. And so there will be usually Zooms in the morning and maybe afternoon dedicated to project management, more activities in the afternoons. Same thing, I will share more information next week and maybe over the break on, scheduling, timetable for each grade, number of students, because right now we still have some parents who don't know what they are going to do. So it's fine, but it's also an issue for us to plan. So I will send a detailed information on the home learning, I think next week, and then your point person will be Thierry Durandard, who will, his role and responsibility will really to be, the link between the teachers, what they are doing on site, and the teachers online. So how we can, be aligned on our academics that we deliver on site and online. Our social contract. So I put this slide just to remind everybody that we have all the shared responsibility if we want to mitigate the risks, to our students and families participating in on-campus learning. We are all happy to come back on campus. It is great when you see the students, they are so happy to come every day. But this is, this is doable and possible if we all share the same kind of high standards. High standards meaning that, personal behavior outside the school should really reflect the best practices for limiting the spread of infection. It's really important, we have heard, everybody has heard that it's an airborne, virus. It can be spread, a lot via indoor dining or, if you indoor parties. So we really want to reiterate that we can only stay open and we can only do this if when our students are outside of school, there is no high risk, behaviors. So the best practices, of course, it's face covering, physical distance, and keeping a small groups designated like a bubble, and really avoid large gatherings. And so it's something that is very important for us. We can, put in place a lot of measures, deep cleaning or whatever, but if we don't have our social contract all together as a community, it's going to be hard for us. So the COVID symptoms, I really want also to remind everybody about the symptoms. They are numerous, there's a lot. And some symptoms are also very close to the flu symptoms or other illness. And so what we encourage you, what we recommend first is to take the flu shot. I think it's the right time. We had already, recommended that a lot of different years because we are a school and we are a community and our students, are mixing. We think that having the flu shot is kind of essential. We cannot mandate it, of course, but we strongly recommend the flu shot. We strongly also recommend that if any symptoms appear in your child, you keep them at home. It is important for us for the integrity of the pod, of the bubble, for the integrity of the community. And that's the reason why also we want to make a fluid system between the on-site and the online. If your child is sick or has symptoms and even just a cough or some fevers, we will give you the opportunity to go online and really be able to learn online instead of in person. We want to make this easier for you to keep your child home. It's really important for us. Okay, so the next steps, sorry, I think I missed one. It was this one, yeah? I don't know, yeah, sorry. The safety measures in place. So basically the safety measures in place, we have the cleaning. We have deep cleaning of classroom spaces by the use of an electrostatic sprayer for disinfection of all surfaces. So all surfaces, all the desk, all the chairs, everything is sprayed. And so every evening we have this deep cleaning. We have the disinfection of restrooms every 30 minutes. We have one restroom per pod. Although there is no guidance on this one, we are trying to achieve that, one pod has one restroom. And so the students from different cohorts or different pods don't mix in the restrooms. The airflow in classrooms, as you saw on the video, we have added a new HVAC system with MERV 13 filters. And so this is really with the UVC sanitation lights. It's also, cleaning a lot the air from different, viruses or particles. But on top of that, if the air quality index is good, we'll leave our doors and windows open. The airflow is really essential in the classrooms. So as long as we keep, windows, doors open, and there's the air coming in and coming out, with this, also UVC and bacterial sanitation lights, it's gonna be, added layer of safety. If the air quality is not good, as we experienced a few weeks ago, we have co-way air purifiers in every classes. And here you see we have a kind of conflict between also guidances. With the bad air quality, we have to close the doors, we have to put air purifiers. But when we think about COVID-19, we have to have the windows and doors open, and we have to have this airflow. So this is conflicting also guidances. So we try to navigate every day. We also have a strong eye on the AQI on our basketball court. And as we have also a protocol for the air quality. So when it hits a certain number, we just stay indoors and we try to, activate all the air purifiers. So it's really on a day-to-day basis. And lunches and recesses. So we have dedicated areas, basketball court, the breezeway, the creek. Maybe some of you have seen that on the basketball court, we added a huge tent, a huge wedding tent. So we want to keep our lunch area open year round. So even if you have bad weather and if we have, a rainy day, we really strive to have this lunch outside, because we know that having lunch, you remove your mask, and this is when you have, the most high risk to get the disease. So it's for us, it's very important. So we'll see how we are going to manage that. But this is our goal. And the staggered times, of course, staggered times, entry times, recess in the morning, lunchtime, lunch after recess, and drop off. So we don't have 200 students coming in at the same time, but you know, just a few every 30 minutes. Okay, so the next steps. You'll get some communication from grade 4 and 5 teachers tomorrow over the weekend. And next Friday, by next Friday, maybe before or around October 16, you'll get, you know, more information regarding schedules, entry points, the hours, the lunches, etc. Because we have to work on the schedules. And over the summer, I had kind of done all the schedules, but I have to redo everything. It has to, you know, start from blank because we are moving things. Our plan from you know, maybe July moved a little bit, and so we shifted things. So we have to work again on all the schedules. So just be patient and bear with me, because it's not an easy task to do the schedules. And flu shot, of course, as I mentioned, it's really important for you. We'll have a break in 1 week, so maybe it's time for you to get the flu shot. So thank you very much for your attention. I thank you also for your patience. I know that we are in a very stressful time. I know that we all have different, you know, perspective on the health, on the safety, on the academics. We are a team. We are working all together. I'm working a lot with Alfonso, who is here. He's, you know, the director of the facilities, and he's handling also the cleaning crew. So we talk every day. We see how we can improve the plan. I talk also a lot with Magali. As Mehdi mentioned, they have been on campus for almost 5 weeks. And so we hear a lot from their experience. That has been a very successful experience. We have this safety, you know, COVID safety committee that gathers, you know, every week we meet to, you know, tackle the different points and the different issues that could rise. And so we are here really to, you know, build a safe place to learn. And so we think that this plan is a plan that can, you know, mitigate the risks and help our students come back on campus. So now we can maybe, Maylene, open up to questions. And
yes, we have quite a few questions, and we have more that are coming in. So I am doing my best to record those everyone. So if you have more, you feel free to add them into the chat. And again, for those of you who are asking about specific schedules and timing, those will all be shared, as Sebastian mentioned, towards the end of next week. So those will have the times as well for what time you should arrive, what for full day, for part-time, all of those will be included. So I tried to gather a little bit by theme, subject, so and then also in the order that we received them. So there was a question about teachers, and I think you may have touched on this, but are there kids who are going to have to change teachers for their pods, or can they stay with their same teacher? It seems like given how many kids are staying home, they might be able to stick to the teacher with whom they have bonded.
No, they will stick to the teachers. That's what I mentioned. Our original plan, for example, in grade 2, was that some students, let's say some students from Laurent class would be moved to Marian class if we would come back on campus. And really, after thinking about that, we think that it might not be, you know, very, very good for them, for their social emotional learning, to be, you know, in a new environment with a new teacher. So no, the students will keep their teachers.
Okay, great. And then we have questions about home learning, the home learning program. So will the remote classes, which are led by Thierry, include multiple grades in one class? Will they have French and English sessions? And does that mean that kids in that group will be separated from their current class and teachers?
So we are not thinking of doing multiple grades for sure. We don't have the numbers as of now. I'm still waiting on some parents to, reply to the survey that I sent regarding the home learning. So I have some, unknown regarding the number of students in some grades. But yes, there will be some Zoom in French. There will be some Zoom in English. And as I shared, we want to make some connections with the class. The home learning will have dedicated SEL. They will still see their specialists, so they will still have art, STEM, things like that. I'm not sure they will have Patrice. Patrice is going to be on site full time. It's going to really, depend on his schedule. Same thing. I have to really see everything. But our goal is to keep the link with the classrooms and their teacher. And if your child is in grade 4 and grade 5, on the Friday it's gonna be with the class, with the usual class, the regular class with their teacher. So on Friday it's gonna be a link to the classroom. But Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we want also to be mindful of the teacher's time and the teacher's workload. Having them teach on site and online, it's very difficult. It's very difficult. So that's the reason why we set up a remote team dedicated.
Yeah, thank you, Sebastian. I'd like to add just one point about that. We've had the chance to discuss with our sister schools all across the US. French-American schools are already teaching full-time in person in other metro areas such as Chicago or Boston. And so we had regular meetings with them, and we also gathered feedback from teachers. And we've seen that, the concurrent classroom where teachers are teaching both the group that is on site and in parallel the group that is online is actually very difficult for teachers. And so we see the clear limits of this and the limitations of this model. So we're trying to come up with a model that will allow for us to engage our students more and allow for our teachers to be really focused on what they have to be doing. It's a new proposition for them, so we want to be super mindful of their ability to also deliver a high quality program of instruction.
Okay, so there are some follow-up questions about home learning. Trying to put some of these together. So I think there's a little bit of confusion around the home learning, especially, for the upper grades, grades 4 and 5, who have a hybrid model. So sometimes they're already at home. Can they join? There's a question that maybe you answered, sorry, I'm doing more things than at one time. Can they join their teachers or class for the remote part of the hybrid days, or will they always be separated?
No. They will join the class on Fridays.
Okay. And when can families decide? Are there specific entry points when they can decide if they want to come back to school or if they want to change to home learning? Or
I had sent a survey. The deadline was I think 2 weeks ago. No, I really understand parents' perspective. It's really a hard choice to make for some of you. You have different lives. You might have people who are at risk in your family. So we really understand that. But planning wise, it's difficult for me if you have last minute changes. And when you have last minute changes, it impacts the entire group. So if someone gives me an answer, late, and I had already sent a schedule or I already say things, then it can move everything. And so other parents would not appreciate it. So in order for us to really be mindful of everybody, unity, as a community, I think it's really important for me to have the information soon, very soon. Like, by Monday, I would like to know who is staying home and who wants to come back on campus. It's an important information. It's essential for me to be able to do the schedules for the home learning, but also for the in-person.
Okay. And do you know, I I don't know if you know specifically, but about what percentage of students are coming back versus choosing for the home learning?
Roughly, for example, in grade 3, we have one student staying home out of 40. In grade 4, as of now, I have 2. In grade 5, I have 2. Grade 1 and 2, it's around 4 or 5. It depends. So it's not, it's around, I would say, maybe 6%, 5 or 6% of our total enrollment.
Thank you. So moving on to some questions about safety. So some folks are saying that, you know, there are some families who may not have been kind of upholding the social contract or maintaining social distance or other safeguards over the summer and the beginning of this year. Will the school take any action or do something if families are not complying with the plan and otherwise potentially increasing the risk? I guess if the school knows about families behaving in a certain way, will the school respond or take any action?
Mehdi, you want to take that one?
That's a difficult one. Yeah, sure. Well, thank you. I think that's a question that it's on everyone's mind. I think that's a very relevant question, actually. As a community, we have a duty to care for one another. And, you know, the social contract was signed by everyone. And so by doing this step of signing the contract, I think we all engage each other in an expected behavior. So we reserve the right to actually reach out to families if they don't respect the social contract and to have conversations with them. And that could include, you know, I don't like talking like that, honestly, but that could include even, you know, having some disciplinary measures if we see families putting our community at risk. We know from science, we know from facts that cases in schools are driven by the community prevalence and the number of COVID-19 cases in the community. Usually students don't get COVID at school, they bring COVID to school and they might give it to teachers. So it's really important for us to make sure that we are like a fortress and we make sure that we have the means to not allow COVID-19 to enter our community. And we could see with the White House outbreak how that's easily done if people are not following the layered measures, the distancing, the masking, the cleaning. All of that matters a lot. And so we want to make sure that we can have the conversations with the families if we know that families are not respecting that. Of course, we will base our conversations on facts and not hearsays, but we have the right to reach out to families and have those conversations, surely.
Okay, and I just want to reiterate that I know it's a really sensitive topic and challenging for everyone, and we're all trying to just do everything in the spirit of keeping each other safe and doing the best that we all can. So really appreciate all you guys' understanding and sympathy for everybody's situation. So as a follow-up question to that, if people are traveling by plane or stay in hotels over fall break, will they be allowed to return to campus?
I can take this one as well. This is also a very good question. This is also, as you can imagine, a difficult question for us. We're trying to come to a conclusion on this one. We've been working on it for the past 2 weeks. And basically, we're looking at what other schools do. We're looking at the guidance. The guidance is evolving from the CDC and CDPH. We're also looking at where our, let's say, risk level tolerance or risk tolerance level is from a community standpoint. We are a community, and in communities, there are cultures and there are things that are more or less accepted or not. One of the things that we're doing for now is, for instance, we're thinking of preparing a survey for the community to gather a little bit where you stand on your risk tolerance, for instance. We're also trying to assess what is the risk tolerance for a different number of activities, and we're getting a little bit conflicting signals from various institutions on this. When you go to the CDC, it clearly says that they are not recommending that out of state will be followed automatically by a quarantine. And same thing for CDPH. International travel is still considered risky, particularly if you go to certain groups of countries. But the CDC is more focusing right now on specific activities. Sebastian touched on that a little bit, going to large gatherings, going on a cruise. Flying an airplane is a tricky one. Some schools do recommend that you do fly, if you have to fly, you do fly on airplanes and companies that will have good safety measures in place. So masking is mandatory. They will leave a seat in between two seats, things like this. And some institutions will rank flying or going throughout an airplane on a mild or medium risk level, while other will put these on a high risk level. So we're trying to come up to a conclusion with this. What we're thinking about at this point is to really alert the community that flying internationally, traveling internationally, as well as having high risk activities, and we're looking into what airplanes will be in this category, but such as going in a large gathering or cruise, etc., as well as going to a high risk area will trigger probably a quarantine. So if you're doing the RUVNA, you might remember that we have a question that will say, have you been out of state? So we are going to drop this question. It changed already in the RUVNA app. We are going to change it into, did you travel internationally? Did you go to a high risk area? Or did you engage in a high risk activity? This most likely will trigger a quarantine for the parents and the students. That said, if you go out of state, you drive, you go to an Airbnb, you make sure that it's cleaned, you see family, but you have the good measures in place. So you don't engage in those high risk activities. You don't go somewhere and do indoor dining if that's a high risk area, for instance. If you don't do those things, we're not going to require a quarantine, even though you will go out of state. So that's a little bit where our thinking is. This is our best thinking at the moment. This is, again, a very tricky question. I'm sure you're all confronted to this one in your workplace, for instance, or with other institutions that you might be in contact with. So we'll come up to a conclusion pretty soon and probably share that with you in the next few days, something like that.
Okay, some more safety questions. Is there a possibility for the kids to have face shields that can be left at school?
That's a good question. Face shield instead of a mask, or because face shield is it's tricky. Face shield right now, if you don't have a kind of cloth under the neck or under the mouth, it's not allowed because the droplets are still going down. So we really want to have a compliant mask. So you can have a face shield if you have really a mask under. So I'm not sure a face shield right now are authorized.
Yeah, they are not unless there is a good reason. So we some kind of an accommodation, but the county is really telling us not to have face shields. So cloth masks are mandatory. Plus, they need cleaning at night, so you don't want to leave them on site. Just if your child would have one for specific reasons.
Okay, is there filtration in the bathrooms, and do all the classrooms that we're using have windows?
Alfonso, do you want to take this on?
So yes, classrooms, we're about 90% all have, they all have windows. The ones that do not have windows, I can kind of explain like how our HVAC systems work. So we added the MERV 13 filters. So the MERV 13 filters, what they do is it's kind of like a HEPA filter. It measures up to, it filters out any dust or smoke particles up to 0.3 microns. And the UV side of that is what takes care of the virus, right, in the air. So we kind of like a joint thing for all the classrooms. So as the air is recycled, it's bringing in fresh air, and it's also recycling some of the air. So all the air as it passes through, if you look at it, it's almost like a circle of with fresh air coming in also. So as it goes through the system, you have one vent, blowing the air into the room. You have another air sucking all the air out. And as it's getting, some of that, I would say probably about 40% is being recycled. It's passing through the UVC light, which is being filtered and put back into the room. The rest is all fresh air coming out, coming back in. The fresh air that's coming into the building is also passing through that same UVC filter. As far as restrooms, we do have a ventilated system that kind of, sucks out brings in fresh air into these bathrooms. That's why since we don't have an actual HVAC system in a lot of these restrooms, we are spraying with we're spraying with electrostatic machines, and we're doing it constantly every 30 minutes. I created a log, which every restroom will have. So if you go into a restroom, you'll be able to see what time it was cleaned. This will be all posted inside every single restroom. The UV, so every 30 minutes that we go in there, that we're in there, we're spraying the air, we're spraying all the hard surfaces. Any area that has been touched is being sprayed. So while we don't have the ventilation aspect, it's only one pod using that area. So the same pod that is inside the classroom is going to use that one restroom. So it's not going to be anybody else using that restroom.
And thanks, Alfonso. And a follow-up, is the air input for the HVAC drawn from indoors or outdoors?
Outdoors. So we have economizers on our HVAC systems. That's a Title 24 thing. And so it's brought from, there's a vent on the roof that brings them in and kind of circulates the air. We do have some recycled air from the classrooms, but like I said, it is being filtered through the UVC filter and through the MERV 13 filter.
Great, thank you. So there's a few questions about testing. So has a testing program discussed? Seems like at some other schools, there's a weekly testing program for parents and or kids. Is that a possibility, or have we discussed that?
Do you want to?
I'll go ahead if you
want. No, so we are testing our faculty every other week. So this is through our own program. We use a Kyla system. Kids and parents, we have been, discussing this, and we are not thinking of doing that. Although, and I will maybe hand over to Mehdi, we are thinking of maybe something a little bit different than testing, kids and parents.
So it's generally a good idea to do some kind of surveillance testing. Right now, it's mandatory to test faculty and staff, and so we're doing it. The only difference is that we do it more than what is mandatory. So the frequency of our testing is more important. So we have a good partner. It works very well. And so we're testing everyone every other week, which is a good cadence. We're looking into increasing that if possible as well. But it's true that the testing of particularly students can be interesting for us. It has been recommended actually by the city of Berkeley in their last health order, and we find that this is very interesting. It's not mandatory from any other agencies at this point, but nevertheless, this is a good idea. We love the idea of the surveillance testing. We have to find the right format and the right tools to do that. So we're looking into a lot of tests, the cheap and quick test. And so we're looking into also the wastewater test. We're talking actually right now with the company to see if we could implement that. So it will be a way for us to monitor if there is community prevalence in our community of the virus. It becomes very technical when you go into the testing. So we want to make sure that we have the good turnaround time for the test results. We want to make sure that also, you know, the wastewater, we have to look technically at how that works, because maybe the virus can stay a long time into the wastewater. And so we have positive tests where really things have been happening for a few days, etc. So really we're looking into it and we're considering it seriously. We have to find the right tools and the right process to do that. So we're very open to this. If you know of a good system, please reach out to us. You can send an email to covidsafety@eb.org. You can reach out to any of us. We will welcome your thoughts on these. We also, you might not know that, but we have, of course, medical professionals in our community. So we're in contact with some of our parents who have an expert perspective on this, and they also, you know, give us good recommendations from time to time. The COVID Safety Committee actually met with the parent this Monday, who's working on the state level on the coronavirus task force. So it was very informative for us. And so we discussed some of that as well. It's on our mind. We would like this to happen. Again, we'll have to find the right format.
Thanks. And Mehdi, can you just share what kind of testing we're using for the teachers and staff? You muted yourself. So.
The viral test. We're not doing antibodies, so we're doing viral, and we're doing the nasal swab test. Not too painful, though. Don't worry about it.
Thank you. All right. We have some safety related kind of hypothetical questions. So if a teacher or student tests COVID positive, who will be notified and how? For example, will only that classroom be notified, or will other classrooms be notified? And as a follow-up to that, what would cause the school, or what might cause the school to close again? Would a case cause that, or only state or county or city guidance, or are there other standards that would cause the school to close?
So yeah, I can take this one. So the question is if a faculty or staff test positive, yeah.
Or student. It was, yeah. I think it's based on your tree.
Yeah, that's the same for sure. So if someone tests positive in the school, we are going to trace the contact, and we call contact is close contact. So less than 15 minutes and more than 15 minutes, sorry, less than 6 feet. That's really your close contact definition. So we're going to trace all these. Definitely the pod will be impacted right away, and possibly other close contacts. So it might be a teacher going to another pod, even though teachers going to different pods will have more physical distance. So the definition of close contact will change a little bit, but the pod will be closed right away. Everyone will be sent home and quarantined. So there will be a communication first to, well, the county, obviously, internal leadership into the school, then the pod, the families in the pod, and then the school. We'll let the school know that there is a positive case. We will not let the school know who that is. We have to balance the transparency of the information with the privacy of individuals, but everyone in the school will know that there is a positive case. Everyone in the school, after the fact, will also know that a whole pod is quarantined, obviously, and we'll quarantine the pod for at least 14 days. We are going to reach out to the county. They have a good process for that. So they have a safe learning at ACOE, acpdh.org. We have a phone number, so we'll reach out to them. We'll initiate our own contact tracing. They will also initiate their own contact tracing, and they will advise us on the next steps, so to speak. So that's kind of the answer to the first question: what do we do if there is a positive case? The second question is what are the scenarios under which we will close the school again? And you could look at least two scenarios. First one is that we receive an order from the county to close the school again. And so that's a very credible scenario, not with the kind of community prevalence that we have at the moment, but let's say that if we have another surge, and that's a possibility, then we will close the school again. And then we could decide either to close the school again because we have multiple cases in multiple cohorts, or we have multiple cases in the same cohort as well. So when the number of cases starts going up, so the county is telling us 5%, really, that's your threshold. 5% positivity rate in a cohort or in a school, then this could initiate the closing of the cohort and the school. So that we will discuss with the county public health officer, and they will give us guidance. The state of California is pretty clear on those thresholds, and the county is pretty clear on those thresholds. So the 5% is a good number or a good figure for you to keep in mind. But those will be conversations we have with the counties. But the idea is that multiple cases will close, again, cohorts, and might close the school.
Thank you. And then some last safety questions sort of related again to the break. If someone does go out of state or on a plane or farther, and they test, the family is tested when they return and they have a negative test, will the quarantine still be necessary?
At the beginning, yes, and there's a little bit of a technicality here. If you come back on a Sunday, let's say you land Sunday at noon, and then you test Sunday at 3 p.m., that's not enough of a lag time for us to know that the person has not been exposed while going throughout the airport. You know, symptoms and also positivity can develop after a few days from the exposure. So we want to make sure that we wait. Usually experts will tell us at least 5 days. So we will recommend that you test 5 days after going back from a high-risk area or engaging in a high-risk activity. So that's a little bit of your lag time. So you can reduce the quarantine. We also use that for some people sometimes. I've used it personally. Coming back from France this summer, I had to travel and I waited for, I quarantined myself for a few days, 7 days actually, before going to be tested, and the test was negative, so I was able to come back to school. So I think that gives you an idea of how we're looking at this. This has been, of course, confirmed by many public health experts. So difficult for you to come back on a Sunday again and give us a negative test on a Monday, because we could see, and we've, again, the example with the White House, we can see people testing negative multiple times, and then one day they test positive. That's because it takes a little while for the symptoms and the positivity to develop sometimes.
Okay, we had a question related to the middle school. We know that reopening's planned for the lower school, but wasn't there a plan to apply for a waiver for 6th grade? And what is the status of the 6th grade?
Okay, so the waiver process is moot. It has been confirmed both by the City of Berkeley and the Alameda County Public Health Department. And the reason is that schools are reopening. There is usually they're very aligned. The City of Berkeley, they have their own public health division. That's an exceptionality in California, but they're very aligned with the Alameda County. There's one difference though. Schools in the Alameda County or elementary schools are able to reopen transitional kindergarten to 6. Schools in Berkeley are able to reopen transitional kindergarten to 5th grade. And so technically we cannot reopen 6th grade. 6 to 8 cannot reopen under the current health guidance from the City of Berkeley. In parallel, because schools are reopening though, the waiver process is irrelevant at this point. So this has been confirmed both by the county and the City of Berkeley. I want to share also where our thinking was before we moved into the red tier. Was asking the middle school team to evaluate the opportunity of reopening 6th grade only on site, if 7th and 8th were still online. And this was not a thing that was necessarily automatically going to happen because of a lot of logistical concerns. And so we didn't even know, even with the waiver, that we would have reopened 6th grade fully online on site. But nevertheless, at the moment, this is irrelevant because we can't. So the Alameda County says that they are going to wait 4 to 12 weeks for middle school and high schools to be able to reopen if the epidemiologic situation stays pretty much the same. So we're at least going to have to wait for another 2 months. The reasons are, I'm going to share them with you because it might be of interest to you to understand where the county is at with this thinking. First reason is that they're looking at the research, and the research tends to indicate that we have differences in the way the virus is spread by children and by teenagers. Teenagers tend to spread the virus a little bit more like adults. And so they have more confidence in the fact of reopening elementary schools versus reopening secondary schools. The second reason is the way secondary schools work with what we call the master schedule. So it's not as easy as in elementary school to have very stable cohorts. We call them the bubbles or the pods. The bubbles or the pods in elementary schools are very compartmentalized. In secondary school, you can have stable cohorts, but they are in contact with more people. So that's another thing that the county is looking at. And the third reason, that's a very valid reason, they want to limit the number of people that are actually going back in the streets, the number of people that are going back to work. So they want to stagger also their reopening by limiting just the number of people who re-engage in social activities. So those third reasons kind of explain, if you want, a little bit of the delay of the possible reopening for secondary schools.
Thank you. All right, moving on to the program. So we had quite a few questions about the 4th and 5th grade schedule. And there were some questions around the sort of difficulty of alternating mornings and afternoons and multiple days. Is there a possibility to have 2 or 3 full days at school instead of half days? And in the current schedule, do they alternate, mornings and afternoons, or is it always the same chunk of time? And is there the expectation that if we are starting in this sort of part-time model, that will increase as the year goes on, or is this sort of the model for the rest of the year or the rest of the calendar year?
Yeah, no, sure. It's a great question. We discussed with the team between half days and full days. We think that moving part-time is a better pedagogical solution when we think about learning, how learning happens, and the regularity, the same rhythm. Than having maybe one day full-time and another day very independent. Some students are really not independent. Doing that part-time enables the teacher to see the students every day, morning or afternoon, but they see them during 3 hours every day, 2 hours and a half. So it's a great way for them to guide them, support them, explain them the concept, the activities, and then they can come back on the next day to help them. If we go on full days, this pedagogical model, it's not going to really be very efficient for our students. That's the reason why we moved to part-time. But we really understand the difficulty of the scheduling and logistic from a family perspective. It's not going to alternate. If you are, we want to be mindful with your schedule. So if you are in a morning group, you'll stay in the morning group. And if you are in the afternoon group, you'll stay in the afternoon group. We had this thought at the beginning of the process, maybe doing 1 week morning, 1 week afternoon to be mindful for everybody. But then for your schedule, it's not going to work. It's going to be very hard for you to, doing morning or afternoon, which week are we, or what are we going to do next week? So this is for the second question. And the third question, long-term vision. Long-term vision is that I'm desperately trying to find teachers to take on those pods. It's more human resources issue than a safety or space or logistical from our side. I want to have teachers who can really deliver our curriculum. Teachers, they train for 1 year. Our bilingual program is very specific. So not anybody can take on a pod and just teach, even with the help of a teacher, they would not be inside the classroom. So it takes a little bit of time of finding the right person to be able to move those pods to full-time. But it's my goal. My goal is really to have, those 4th and 5th grade full-time. So if you know anybody French who can, handle a pod, French, English, bilingual person who would like to work and teach, just send them my contact information, and I will be happy to discuss that with them.
Thank you. For first grade, what is a typical schedule for Wednesday? Are there enrichment activities continued? So is there no more music now that the music teacher is teaching a class?
No, it's going to be full time. So Wednesday is not going to be online. So it's going to be a classroom. We will spread out the different specialists. STEM will be via Zoom. So the homeroom teacher will be in class, and Olga will Zoom in, in the class. Garden will be outside. So this is for the different specialists. What we are thinking, though, is maybe do an early dismissal for the first graders, because they need also to work a little bit on their own. So first and second graders might end maybe 30 minutes before the regular schedule on one day a week, so they have time to also work with their learning facilitator and collaborate, align the program. So we might do some switch at some point in the week, but you'll get all the information next week.
Okay, and I'm confirming, someone is asking about the specialists being remote for all the grades. I think you confirmed that art and STEM were remote, yes, and then garden and PE,
because it's outdoors, yeah,
are on campus.
On campus.
Okay, so you mentioned that push and support will no longer be available for in-person learning. So how do you plan to support the kids that have fallen behind during this distance learning period, or who are already maybe a slower learner or have specific learning challenges?
As I said, we have a very experienced teachers, and they are really trained to differentiate. It's hard to differentiate when you have 20 kids. It's easier to differentiate when you have 10 kids or 7 kids for a second grade. So the pace of learning, the individualization that will happen will be very different. And instead of having an external, staff coming in and pushing with a small group, well, the small group is almost here, because when you have 7 or 8 kids, you can, just take 1 or 2 students and really help them and support them on a good basis, on everyday basis. So that's the reason why there is that kind of, support. And our counselor will be on site, so she will be able to see some of the students. And for our learning specialist, so that we know, some of you know that we have not replaced Camille True full-time, but we have someone who is here on the call, Stéphanie Poulain, who is a French speech therapist and is helping us with some students. And so there will be Zoom outside of the class hours to help, to still help those students, because same thing, zooming in inside the classroom while the other students are there, it's not going to be very efficient.
Thank you. We do have a few more questions, but I want to be mindful of people's time. It's almost 11, so we can take a few more for those who are able to stay, and then if we have some questions that weren't answered, you can always feel free to email Sébastien or Mehdi directly. There's a question about emotional support. So how is the school preparing students emotionally for this shift? Some children may have been struggling about the worries of getting COVID while at school. Is there a plan on how to communicate and offer extra social emotional support to our children during this transition?
Yes, we have a plan. Carla Maya, our counselor, is kind of, building some activities for teachers, but also, maybe doing some zooming in the classroom to also help our students with all these new measures. We know that the school is really different in the field from what they have experienced in the past. So it can also be hard for some of them, to have all this staggered time and, not being able to play with other students from other classrooms. So we are trying to build activities, and this extra emotional support will be on our forefront, the forefront of our work, and especially with Carla Maya, our counselor.
Great. And then a few questions about the outdoor space. Is there still going to be an emphasis on trying to conduct outdoor learning, or is everything going to be in the classroom? And leading into recess, are those areas that the kids are in fixed, or will they rotate, like, to be able to use different parts of the yard?
Yeah. So the second question, there will be a rotation on a daily basis. So for example, on Monday, some students will be on the soccer field. On the Tuesday, they will use the structure, the play structure. Maybe on Wednesday, they will be on the grass. So we will build a schedule, kind of alternating areas. For the outdoor space and the learning space, we encourage our teachers to, teach outdoors. But now we are going to have a recess from 9:30 to almost 2. So there will be a lot of noise, a lot of distraction also. And, it's difficult for students to be outside and learn while they see also others playing. So it might be difficult for us to implement those kind of settings.
All right. And then with 5th grade students who are at the middle school, will they still be able to use the lower school play areas, or will they be at the middle school the full day?
No, they will be at the middle school the full day.
And some questions about pods. Specifically, I think for 1st grade, there's a question about clarity on pods and pod sizes, pods not being sort of equal, different numbers in different pods. Are there going to be changes?
No, I think this is a very specific question. Again, depending on the number of replies from parents that we will get, that we do not have right now, we might shift from 3 pods. So basically, Jean-Philippe class has 1 pod that is larger than Emma. And so if we have students that come back, our goal is to build and to create 2 pods instead of 1 pod.
Okay, and so are the pods lining up with the onboarding groups, or are there changes?
In which grade?
4th grade.
No, they might change, and you are going to receive a survey from the teachers. They are going to let you know, not about your wish from morning or afternoon, because it's going to be impossible for us maybe to realize them, but more about the if you plan on co-driving or picking up the different kids, and if you want different kids to be together, then you'll have this opportunity to reshift and redo the groups. Since we are not using pod A, B, and C, but half groups, you will have the opportunity to let the teacher know that you want to be in the same group as someone else, so that it's easier for the driving.
Okay, and lastly, a question about fall camp. Is it possible for the school to offer any outdoor in-person daycare or class during the fall break?
So technically it is, but we have decided not to do it, and the reason is a safety reason. We're still following the plan where we are not having activities on site that will be outside of the in-class learning. So learning can happen in the class or beyond the class outdoor, but we're limiting on-site activity to the learning process only. That's why we still don't have non-essential visitors. We still don't have extracurricular activities. And basically the reason is that we want to make sure to keep the integrity of the staple groupings and bubbles. So that's the reason. Even though the guidance is providing for camps and extracurricular activities, this is permissible now, but we have decided to wait for the situation to be better before we can engage in such activities. We really thank the parents for, thank all of you for your patience and comprehension as we do not re-engage yet in those activities.
And then I think I asked you this before, but I think it wasn't clear. If someone is in home learning, when is there a possibility, if they change their, like, when would be the next opportunity for them to change to come back to school? Like, is there no opportunity until January, or what's kind of the?
Yes. When you commit to home learning, you commit for 7 weeks. We don't want to have, you know, back and forth. It's not going to be manageable. So if you opt out of in-person, you opt out until January when we come back. I will send a survey, you know, in December, at the end of December, to know if you want to come back. But right now, if you make this decision, it's for you know, November and December.
Great. And so there was just a request, Sebastien, before we wrap up, if the survey message can be sent again, or I don't know if you need the whole survey, but I think if you feel like you haven't gotten a chance to respond as to whether you'd like to come back or not, I think you can just email Sebastien directly.
Yeah. Just if you know, even if you you know, you know that you want to opt out for sure, really send me a message. Even if you have already filled the survey, prefer to have, you know, survey and an email, so we all know the information and we can plan from there.
Great. And then there is a request, when you send your next message, could you potentially, if we have available, include a map with the rooms? You had mentioned the spaces, and people aren't as familiar with the classroom. So I think we'll take this opportunity to wrap up. Thank you guys all for being here and your patience and your questions. And thank you to Sebastien, Mehdi, and Alfonso and all the team for all the work in putting this together. And you guys, if you have questions that didn't get answered or other things that come up, please feel free to email Sebastien directly or covidsafety@ev.org if it's related to that as well. So we'll send out this recording in the Gazette in case, well, if you had to leave early, you're not hearing this, but in case you want to re-watch it or if others ask you about it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day. Thanks a lot.
Take care.
Thank you.